Hello, Luminary. Leslie Tagorda here. Can you believe it's already September? Oh my goodness. So, with so many planets currently in retrograde or having just been in retrograde, it is a month to practice your values and take your planetary medicine. Welcome to Star Powered Astrology for Changemakers. I'm Leslie Tagorda, your guide, a Hawaii born Filipino Jewish astrologer who loves navigating visionaries like you through the spiritual journey of your work so that you can be inspired to lead by your chart and become the luminary leader you were born to be. Okay, everyone, welcome to September. We made it through August. We made it mostly through a Venus retrograde. We're still in the middle of a Mercury retrograde. Uranus is now retrograde, joining Pluto and Neptune and Chiron. Jupiter is going to be going retrograde as soon as Venus stops going retrograde. Oh my goodness, what does this mean? Well, recently I've been really truly exploring at an even deeper level just this idea of planetary medicine, like plant medicine. We have planetary medicine. So you've already noticed and you've heard many astrologers talk about when a planet appears to be going retrograde, appears to be going backwards from our vision, from our vantage point here on Earth, it has a little RX on its right next to the planet symbol, meaning that it's appearing to go in backwards motion. And it, of course, is no coincidence that that little RX is the same as a prescription or a diagnosis when you go to a doctor. And so, if we like to start thinking about these planets as they are in retrograde and kind of like their medicine phase and their recalibration and their realignment, we think of this idea from of medicine not from kind of like a Western vantage point where medicine is what you take to treat a symptom, where in most like indigenous and traditional ways of healing, we look at the whole mind, body, soul, emotions, and see what is missing, what needs realignment, what needs calling back in. And this, to me, is really truly what the planetary medicine wants of us. So we get to think that every time one of these planets, whether it's an inner planet or a social planet or an outer planet, when they're going into retrograde, we get to recalibrate, we get to realign, we get to recall in those planetary processes that we might have just kind of got out of alignment to. Getting out of alignment, completely natural, just like the daily wear and tear, getting out of alignment in terms of our values, getting those synced back up. Life changes, experience changes, capacity is needed everywhere. So we get this time. Now, September, because we're opening up September with every single planet that can go retrograde, except for Mars, having just been or currently in retrograde. Yes, we're talking about you. Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron. September, it's time to take our medicine and reintegrate, repractice, walk our walk, talk our talk, get on our aligned path. Okay. Because September, there's not too many things going in the sky, like not too many like planetary ingresses. We don't have a blue moon like we did in August. We don't have eclipses like we're going to have in October. We don't have like Mercury switching signs every which way because it's like still in retrograde and then I'll have to backtrack. So, what we do have in September is all of these planets going in retrograde, meaning it is a time of taking our planetary medicine, and recalibrating all of these different pieces in our work, in our life, in wholeness, and diagnosing what we need so that by the time October comes and we're doing those big transformations, we are going to have a nice, steady practice, a protocol, so we can do that heavy lifting of change coming right up for us. So when, like as I was saying earlier, you can think of planetary as processes, planets as processes in your life and work. And if you've been listening to the podcast, you've been noticing that I've done a couple of episodes already on the planetary processes. We just dropped Uranus because Uranus, we just started that Uranus retrograde. And all of these planets have a role, they have a process in our life and our work. And when we look at these planets as their role, as we have them natally, as they evolve with transits, we can get a grasp on where we are in different life cycles in our life and our work that'll help us make better decisions. Like, are we supposed to grow? Are we supposed to rest? Are we supposed to play? Are we supposed to release and let go? Are we supposed to build and persevere? All of these different cycles. And of course, each of the planets and their different roles, they have different durations of their cycles. So we are living in, a multitude of cycles all at once. And it really helps understanding all of these processes. And so when planets are moving direct, we're working in kind of the traditional process of that planet. And when they're going in retrograde, we get to switch things up. Again, I like this idea of recalibrating as like fine tuning, right? Remember, I play the clarinet. I've been practicing a lot lately because we have a massive busy season coming up. Our season coalesces with the school season. So we go from fall to spring. We have a jam-packed season coming up. And I'm like, okay, I better get practicing. And so one of the things that I've been doing this past summer is going through a massive overhaul, switching up some equipment, making sure my clarinets are working properly. Like, I got my clarinet all overhauled. I changed out some pads. I bought a new mouthpiece. I bought new reeds. I bought a new ligature, all with just these like teeny tiny fine adjustments. Like, I needed a new reed so that my tone could have more focus and more oomph. I needed a new ligature, which is the thing that holds the reed on top of the mouthpiece. And you're thinking, oh, does this have a massive change in the sound? Well, it does, because you know what? Those ligatures, they stretch out, they lose their tension. And if you don't change them regularly, at least because I have kind of a leather ligature, then it doesn't hold the reed on with as much tension, and it gives a sound kind of, it just the sound kind of like, it sags a little bit. And then I got a new mouthpiece over the summer. I was really excited about the mouthpiece because it made my articulation, meaning the starts and the release of the notes, they made them like nice and bubbly and crystal clear. But then when I went to rehearsal, this mouthpiece was playing so sharp, I couldn't get in tune with the rest of my ensemble. So this recalibration has been now a few months in the making. I'm almost to where I am happy with my sound again. I got a brand new mouthpiece. It brought my tuning down, but it doesn't have that crispness of articulation. So I'm back to square one with changing up my reeds. And so imagine in your life, right? In your business, in your work, where you're going through all of these little bits and pieces, noticing where once you change one thing, how other things change, and you go change that one thing, go back and change. So this is a time where in your life, because you've learned, right, your Venus retrograde, what you needed to reignite in your passion and your play and your creativity so that you can value those and put them at the top of your list so that you can do them every day. This Mercury retrograde is saying, okay, are your actions aligned to your values? Are you actually making time for what's important daily, weekly, monthly? All of these things, Uranus is saying, okay, time to awaken some of these processes, like stop just like functioning without thinking without consciousness. All of these planets are there for us to take our medicine with gratitude and with consciousness, right? So that we can bring awareness to where we need to shift, recalibrate, realign in our work to accomplish your goals, right? So again, just to kind of hash out just like I have one of my goals was to sound really good for our very busy season because we're going on a lot of tours in my classical music ensemble all across the country. I want to sound really good. We have a new bassoonist in our group, so I want to really bring my playing level up to par. I've been kind of letting it fizzle out for the last couple of years. And so I knew I had to start with like fine tuning the equipment that I was playing with, and once I fine tune that equipment, that's going to help me practice, bring more joy back to my practice, bring more drama, bring more creativity. All of this during our September planetary medicine where everything is going retrograde. So what does this look like for you so that in September you can really consciously with awareness and gratitude and say, yay, I get this time. So maybe you're working on your funnel, right? Maybe you're not getting, you're trying to build your audience, but you need a new opt-in. Maybe your content on your website's not working just quite right yet. Maybe you're talking to the wrong audience, or maybe your audience isn't, they're looking at your stuff, but they're not making a purchase, right? Thinking about each little bit of the puzzle and figuring out where do I need to recalibrate. Or maybe you're launching an entire new brand or you want to rebrand. Maybe your look and feel just doesn't fit you anymore, that you've expanded in your work, that you want to reach a higher level of clients, but your content is still speaking to a lower level. So, what kind of little changes do you need to shift? Maybe you have a giant shift. Maybe you want to quit your job and go off onto another path. Well, this is your chance because come October, this is when we have our eclipse season, and this is where we'll be like breaking everything down so that the new level of transformation can happen. So at this time, make sure you're putting everything into place with your values prioritized, with creativity and joy, and your actions realigned to be able to practice wellness and wholeness in your life and work. You for sure by this point in your journey have paid for the cost of hustle and have had enough. Okay. So, what are you tired of paying for? Remember, paying for in energy, in capacity, and emotion, and physical vitality, not just money. What have you had enough of? It's time to recalibrate. So, now in September of 2023, you get to show through your actions, right? The universe is watching, the universe is testing you on your actions that you are ready for your new beginnings that will be coming forth when we have October and our eclipse season. You're showing the universe that you've done your work to break down and release what you no longer need. That's thanks to like Uranus and Pluto retrogrades, and that you've decided to take leaps of faith, ready to embody the possible. That's specifically the Uranus retrograde. Now, we're still in Virgo season as I record this today on August 29th. I'm doing a bunch of batch recordings right now. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice the same outfit. My apologies, but I have important things to do. No time to change. As Virgo opens up into Libra at equinox in September, I'm super excited about equinox. We get to balance the dark and the light, where you'll integrate all of this personal action into community action. Okay. So remember in September, as you're recalibrating all of these little bits and pieces, you can think about this as like, doing the work on yourself so that when we go into Libra season, we can place ourselves within the community and do more of that connection because we do not exist in isolation. And we are the people that we surround ourselves with. So, what I mean, once we come to Libra season and start prioritizing our partnerships and relationships, who do you want to be in that relationship? How do you want to have your sense of self worth and your self value, right? Of course, you want to come in being that very, very, very best self so that you can attract your very best partners, those people, your people that are aligned to your highest, that are attracted to what you have to offer and what you have to lead with. So, this is your chance to get all of those recalibrated. This September, you get to deepen your practice with a new beginnings of wellness. What I mean in wellness, again, mind, body, spirit, whether this is in your life or in your work, everything is working together in harmony where there's certain times where work is going to need you, or your personal life is going to need you, or your partner is going to need you, your parents are going to need you, where you get to kind of shift because you are in well alignment. Regardless, to be in wellness is to ensure you're living by your heart, by your values, by your spirit in both your life, work, and in society. Okay. So September, we have just a few shifts coming on. So remember, again, almost all of the planets are in retrograde. September 3rd and September 4th, we have a changing of the guards because Venus has been in her rare retrograde cycle since July, and she's going to end her retrograde cycle on Leo of 12 degrees on September 3rd. Now, on September 4th, Jupiter, who is the only planet so far that isn't retrograde, now Jupiter trades places, the two benefics trade places. Jupiter now begins retrograde in Taurus at 15 degrees on September 4th. And these two benefics have been over the course of July have been squaring off with each other. Part of the Venus retrograde cycle was that Leo Venus squaring off with that mid degree of Jupiter and Taurus. So Leo and Taurus are squaring off in fixed signs. Gratefully, these are our two benefics. So even if they're kind of in a friction point or in a conflict point or in an activation and sparring off point, as squares often are, Venus is doing the initiation because she's moving a little faster and she's further out in Leo than Taurus. So these are definitely experiences of possible like bonuses and lucks and realization, all of these like benefic things between Venus and Jupiter. And so they've been dancing together since July. And when Jupiter goes in retrograde by September 4th, when Venus starts going direct again, she's going to be touching off with that Jupiter again for the third and final time. And so I want you to take a look at a couple of dates. Let me get those for you. So by the time we have September 16th, we're fast forwarding into the month where Venus is going to square off with Jupiter for the third time. Venus has squared off with Jupiter first in July, then in August, and then now again in September. And so I want you to start to kind of notice the theme of embodying and expanding your pleasure. And this pleasure, of course, adds to your purpose because Jupiter is involved. And so, thinking about this cycle, I want you to really just start connecting the dots between these two traditionally lucky planets. So, as you're reigniting your pleasure in your life and work, how have you literally been able to tap into and step into that pleasure in your body? That will be the gift of Venus and Jupiter as they meet again at that middle part of September. So again, Venus retrograde ends on September 3rd. September 4th, Jupiter retrograde begins from Taurus of 15 degrees. Jupiter is going to be going back about 10 degrees all the way to that 5-degree mark. So both Jupiter and Uranus are both going to be going backwards through Taurus. Jupiter and Uranus, remember, they're not going to be meeting until the middle of 2024. They'll be both meeting in Taurus. It's going to be like a massive upgrade for all of us. That's like one thing that I have my eye on for next year. But so start to notice the things that really need to be recalibrated in your Taurus energies as Jupiter and Uranus head back and trace back in Taurus this month, and actually all the way through January. Next on September 15th, Mercury retrograde ends. Mercury has spent its entire time in Virgo this time. It it stations direct to move forward again at Virgo of 8 degrees. Hence, this entire month, Mercury stays in Virgo, and, Venus stays in Leo, Mars stays in Libra. There's all of the inner planets don't shift in September. And that's okay because we got all those retrogrades to calibrate and manage. So we don't need all these different ingresses. The only planet that changes signs is the sun when it enters Libra on September 22nd, sparking our beautiful equinox, the equinox of balancing light and dark. I love the equinoxes. And the equinox is also, just if you're interested in joining Star Powered Circle for the last quarter of 2023, doors will be open right around then. So head on over to starpowered.com/circle to get on the wait list and be notified when the doors open. Coming up, the intensive in Q4 will be about putting your offers together based on your Chiron and your midheaven. So it's tying everything up and deciding what kind of offer will best suit you and your design. Okay, we have 2 lunations in, well, of course, we have 29 lunations, but we have our new moon and our full moon. Our new moon in Virgo happens on September 14th, and then our full moon in Aries happens at the end of the month on September 29th. Remember, this is our last month before eclipse season. Eclipse season, we have that in October. Super, super, super potent. So for sure, look forward to the beginning of September when Venus and Jupiter trade spots in going retrograde. And then right in the middle of September, when we have Mercury retrograde ending, when we have Venus and Jupiter squaring off for the last time, as well as that new moon, that's going to be a potent time of the month for just really getting things started again. So not like things have ended, right? You're practicing your protocol and your actions and realignments. So everything about September is recalibrating and practicing to get us ready for October. All right, my friends, just a short little episode for the highlights of September. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you're enjoying Star Power, this podcast, make sure you share this with your business besties and leave me a rating and review, because honestly, those reviews are so helpful because it really gets the word out and it feeds this podcast to other listeners like you. All right, my friends, I'll talk to you soon. Bye. As a human design projector, my energy shines more brightly because of people like you who share my work. If you enjoy this podcast and want to help build a movement of innovative astrology and leadership and spark the intuitive revolution, please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, or better yet, share this podcast with your change-making besties. We will all shine brighter together as we create the future we want to see.